Today's episode of the Comic Book Movie Bracket is all about the sequels, for better and for worse. Let's feud. There are 8 movies in this episode, so forgive my roll call approach to going over the characters. There's a lot to unpack. Batman Returns brings back my favorite Batman to date, Michael Keaton as our titular hero. Danny DeVito and Michelle Pfeiffer are just as memorable as the Penguin and Catwoman. Pfeiffer has the perfect blend of sexy and cat shit crazy. Superman 2 is all the same players back, from the Man of Steel Christopher Reeve to his arch nemesis Lex Luthor played by Gene Hackman. Margot Kidder brings back the sass as Lois Lane, and Zod and his pals are perfect villains. The Golden Army and Blade 2 keep the same cast from the original as well. Hellboy 2 dumps the human agent since he was completely forgettable and adds some really awesome elf warriors. Abe Sapien gets voiced this time by the actor physically playing him, while Ron Perlman once again brings the awesome as the Red Devil himself. Speaking of Perlman, he's also in Blade 2, which makes sense since Guillermo del Toro directed both films. Wesley Snipes was born to play Blade, and I love rewatching his vampire-killing antics with Whistler. Norman Reedus joins the crew as a backstabbing dirtball named Scud. I really dug the villain in this picture, Nomak, and his struggle with his place in the vampire community. Sin City retains most of the original cast, but the switch from Clive Owen to Josh Brolin was odd, as they play the same characters entirely different. JGO was a great addition, but the cast seems far less inspired this time around. Although it was nice seeing Eva Green in all her topless glory. She's also the only notable thing about 300 Rise of an Empire. It's not the only thing rising. Sexual comments. Subscribe. Never has a film suffered so badly from the lack of a true protagonist. Gerard Butler was the heart and soul of the original. It's a damn shame he didn't come back. Full disclosure, I've only seen parts of Ghost Rider 2 and the Mask sequel because they look like they were gonna suck all sorts of ass. It just amazes me that Hollywood thinks anyone off the streets can just jump into these roles, even credited actors. A lot of these films are resting on the shoulders of fantastic performances. 300 largely succeeds because Gerard Butler was all in. The Mask largely succeeds because Jim Carrey was all in. Such a waste that Alan Cumming was subjected to this shit show. Couldn't find a way to get him back for X-Men 3, but Son of the Mask? Yeah, don't turn that role down. That's a gem, that's a keeper. God damn it, Hollywood. There's of course a smorgasbord of actors in all these films I've barely covered, but I'm only here to refresh, not to educate. BVS mastermind Zack Snyder. I'm sorry, I can't get through that line without laughing. He was responsible for 300 and Sin City, and those movies were fantastic. The sequels were pretty shit, and you could tell he didn't come back for them. 300 Rise of an Empire was probably the most pointless sequel I've ever seen. It doesn't move the story forward at all, instead working as a sidequel. Even more puzzling, it takes place from the perspective of the ship battles, which severely limits the fun and creativity. Although the horse charge through the ships was pretty awesome. Stupid, but awesome. Sin City plays as both a prequel and a sequel, I believe. I can't be bothered to remember. The things I really enjoyed about the first was how all the storylines really gelled together in the end. Here it's just a string of random occurrences that never really join up. Superman 2 continues right where one left off. Zod and his cronies come to Earth to enslave the human race. For the Man of Steel, things like that, they just don't fly. Unfortunately, he has to deal with the prospect of being mortal in a battle of gods. Thankfully, that's very short-lived as he somehow gets his irreversible powers back. It's a bit sloppy in the storytelling department, and it gets far too carefree in the final battle. Returns is the easy winner as it gives us some fantastic villain backstories and a further reach into Batman's history. I love the idea of the two-villain dynamic until it was eventually beaten to death in later installments. I'm sure I don't know what the plot of Ghost Rider 2 is. I can only imagine it's up to the highest standards of storytelling. I do remember him pissing fire in the trailer, so it's essentially Citizen Kane level writing. Son of the Mask is about a quirky dog who finds Loki's mask. Hijinks ensue. Oh, there's also a baby who has superpowers, because stupid movie. Blade 2 is my jam. The fact that the vampires are being hunted by something worse than Blade makes for a very cool premise. They team up with our reluctant hero to take down these sewer dwellers. Plot twist takes shape and action is in large supply. Hellboy 2 is a solid film, although I don't think it's any better than the first. I was a bit let down by the Golden Army aspect. This extremely powerful old world robotish battle squad's taken down in all of 5 minutes. Much like an afternoon buffet at my local strip club, the selling point's the amazing visuals and wonderful creature design. Did that joke land? I don't care. The highly stylized looks of 300 and Sin City spill over to their sequels with a lot less effect. The magic has been lost in the decade of waiting for these two to come out, and Snyder clearly had a better team at his disposal when working on the originals. That's not to say they're failures by any stretch. There are certainly some great shots and cool moments, but they are less frequent. I've always been a fan of Tim Burton's unique look and feel of his movies, although I think it's a bit played out at this point. When Returns came out, it was still very fresh. Much like the aforementioned buffet at my local strip club. Still trying to make that joke land. Richard Donner also keeps his film consistent from the first to the second, with nice framing and very dated green screen work. Thankfully, the characters are so likable you can look past the old effects. Speaking of visuals, the Son of the Mask looks like shit. Stupid camera angles, zany CGI, and obnoxious Jamie Kennedy facial expressions make this a miserable experience from beginning to end. Blade and Hellboy pump out some really amazing visual scenes. From the opening moments where the vampire hunter takes out the bloodsuckers on motorcycles, the film doesn't let up. Hellboy's finale might be a letdown, but the middle act, where a giant plant creature starts tearing up the city, is a sight to behold. Ghost Rider 2 is only on this list because I feel like I have to represent some odd fan base the rest of the world forgot who would vote for this film. If the effects look anything like they did in the original, which I unfortunately did see, then your eyes are in for a painful experience. Much like the 1 p.m. showing at the strip club I sometimes attend every weekend. Cinnamon thinks she still has it going on, but the bags under her eyes tell a far different story. A story that my swimsuit area has no interest in. If Eva Green was over at my strip club, she'd be doing a lot more than 300 Rise of an Empire. She'd be doing 300 Rise of a Dickpire. Oh, we're going. This wasn't my most inspired episode to date, but you know, I've done a few of these comic book movie brackets now, and clearly it's gotten out of hand, and I want to kill myself. There are a few more to go in phase 1, and then the votes start to really count as the winners all square off later. So make sure you vote for your favorite, comment, and subscribe to Feud Nation for more of this nonsense. More than just reviews, this is Movie Feuds. All this talk of food has gotten me hungry. I'm gonna head over to the buffet. Hopefully it's not 1 o'clock.